Hello everyone, welcome to Arizona Bill Watch for another lively discussion of important and controversial bills. I am your host, Jose Borrajero. Thank you for watching. There is a lot going on at the Capitol these days, so stay tuned because we have a fantastic show for you today. But before we do that, some housekeeping items. Number one, we would love for you to watch the whole show from beginning to end. However, you may also fast forward to the bills of your choice by using the handy chart that we have placed down below. Secondly, if you like what you see, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to us. Third, it costs money to do what we do. So if you like what you see, you may contribute by going to our website, azpeopleslobbyist.com. So with all that out of the way, let's look at the first bill. House Bill HB 2181. Short title, National Guard Active Duty Combat. This bill was introduced by Representative Culloden, and it's going to be heard in the House Military Affairs and Public Safety Committee on the 12th, which I believe is Monday. And what it is, very simply, it says something that I don't know if we can do this, but the bill says that we can. The only way that the National Guard may be called into active duty or combat duty, as they say, is either there has been a declaration of war or if the legislature agrees to it. Now, when was the last time we had a declaration of war?
Long time.
A long time ago. Oh, well, wasn't there a declaration under, well, Congress approved a war under Bush.
There's no official declaration of war since Second World War, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway,
say that.
basically what this says is that you're not going to call the National Guard to active duty unless the legislature approves it. So, Archie, you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I always have something to say about these.
Gee, I'm
bills.
surprised.
I know.
Well, I mean, if I go over and look at 26164, what is it? It's C1C. The purpose for purposes of this section, active duty combat means doing any of the following in the active federal military service. And C says performing a duty through an instrumentality of war. What does that mean?
What does that mean? I don't know.
I don't have the
Well, I'm sure they have a definition of terms,
Well, unfortunately, I haven't been able to find it. But,
but because it's not there.
well, to me, the operative word in this entire thing is combat, all right?
Yeah, you have to define it.
You know, what are we talking about when we talk about combat? I mean, it's really not clear. Then the other question is, does our state legislature really think they have the authority to control the acts of the president in calling the National Guard into active duty?
Well,
they
that's
have no authority to do that at all.
Yeah, but that doesn't keep them from introducing a bill that would do that.
Well, but I mean, again,
It's a
it's
waste
a total
of
waste
time.
of time. I mean,
Yeah,
why
but it makes
bother with
it makes the legislator look good.
Well, no, it don't.
Well, no, not in your.
It makes the legislator look like they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, but that's common.
Well, I understand that's common, but I'm going to get back to my gripe that I've had for years now in doing this. What is the legislative council doing? I mean, they've got to be talking to somebody about something. Surely, if they're attorneys, they got to know that you can't do this.
They introduced over 1,700 bills this session. Okay, everyone counts. So this counts towards the 1,700 goal, I guess they had. They must have had a goal to introduce that many bills. So anyway, the bill is, it's meaningless.
The author of this bill is an attorney. The author of this bill should know better than this.
But again, it's not a matter of what can be accomplished. It's a matter of what can be shown to the public.
Why waste your time?
Right. It's not a waste of time. Think about it. They could be doing something else that may be worse.
It's true. So with this conversation and with your argument about all of this, I am a no on this bill. This needs to this go away. And you too?
Yeah, I'm a no on it. Yeah, I'm a no on it because I don't think the state legislature has any authority to do this.
Okay.
I mean, why waste your time?
Right.
Either reduce the number of bills you introduce or forget it. This
Okay,
is,
so we're all in agreement that this is not a good idea.
yeah.
House Bill HB 2323, DCS Specialty Medical Evaluations. This bill was introduced by Representative Payne, and it's going to be heard in the House Health and Human Services Committee on the 12th, which is Monday. What it does is that it places certain restrictions on the way the Superior Court may issue an order authorizing the Department of Child Safety to take temporary custody of a child. My take on it is that it just makes it a little more difficult or more justifiable for the child to be placed in the care of or the custody of the DCS. Do you agree with that, Gloria? Do you think that's what it does?
I think that's what it does, but there's something in here that I do like, and that is that the Superior Court may not issue based on one person's opinion.
Right.
And that I really like. And then there is something else, and was another, let me see if I can find it. And also that this section does not prohibit a child's parent or legal guardian or the attorney of the child or the child's parent or legal guardian, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't prohibit them from getting another opinion.
Correct.
And those are some things in here that I do like.
Yeah, I look at it as a check and balance type of bill. Archie, do you agree with that or disagree?
Well, it is a check and balance. Taking a child away from the custody of a parent or a custodian or a guardian should be done with great amount of care. Now, one of the problems that I have with this bill, and overall I think it's a good bill, but it says that the court can't issue the order based upon the opinion of a medical doctor or a custodian not a custodian, but a child care facility person, based upon their opinion, where they haven't interviewed and examined the child. Yet, if we go over to page 4 on paragraph 12, it specifically says, well, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we don't have to have their opinion.
Okay, so there is an inconsistency within the bill.
It's inconsistent. I mean, you go on paragraph 8 on page 6. So, I mean, you've got inconsistent provisions in this. Now,
Okay, well, other than the inconsistent provision, which is a common thing with these bills, overall, it's a good bill. You think?
overall, it's a good bill.
And Gloria, you think it's overall it's a good bill.
Exactly.
And I concur with all that. So, folks, we like for you, if you're so inclined, to contact your legislators and tell them that you like this bill. House Bill HB 2376. Short title, Federal Government Land Acquisition Consent. This bill was introduced by Representative Diaz, and it's going to be heard in the House Land, Agriculture, and Rural Affairs Committee on Monday the 12th. Basically, what this bill does is that it says that if an individual or any entity has land that is being currently taxed by the state, and they dispose of that property by selling it or transfer it and somehow ceding it to the federal government, thereby making the state lose that revenue from the tax, that one of two things have to happen. Either the federal government reimburses the state or the state has to give consent to that transfer. Makes perfectly good sense, but I'm not so sure that it's legal. So, what do you guys think?
Go ahead, Archie.
Oh, well, What the government giveth, the government can taketh away, right?
Well,
This,
the government's an Indian giver then.
No, it's worse than that. This is an alienation, a violation of the alienation clause. Now they're telling you, look, you can sell your property, but we're going to tell you who
Who
you
do
can
you
sell
get-
your
oh,
property
okay, that's-
to.
yeah.
Right? That's a violation of the alienation clause. You can't do that.
Well, wait a second. It doesn't say that you cannot sell it to the federal government. It says that if you do, then the federal government has to.
They can't force the federal government to give them a penny. They just can't. They don't have that authority. All right. The other problem with that is that this violates the Enabling Act. You know, I mean, guys, read some of the documents that you're messing with here. You know, look, the federal government in 1910 gave the state of Arizona several million acres of land, and in that Enabling Act, creating the state of Arizona.
No, but this is not. No, no. This is the. If I understand this bill correctly, it's not the deeded land. It's the land owned or property for that matter owned by an individual or some other entity.
Yeah, but where did that individual get the land? It came from the federal government. The origin of that land is in the federal government.
Okay, all
in
right.
the Enabling Act.
Okay, so there is a problem here as to whether the state is actually able legally to do this. So we're going to leave it at that and say that this is a questionable bill, because we could spend the rest of the week talking about the Enabling Act and some of the problems that we're having with them. Right?
Okay. And you start messing with the Enabling Act, and you're really messing with the statehood.
Okay.
All right.
And-
I mean,
and-
if the federal government gave it to you, they can take it
Take it
away
away.
from you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So okay. So Archie, what's your opinion on the bill overall?
Bad bill.
Bad bill.
Can't
bad
bill.
bill.
Questionable bill, my opinion.
So one question. Okay.
House Bill HB 2439. Short title, Property Conveyance, Foreign Entities Prohibition. This bill would be heard in the House Land, Agriculture, and Rural Affairs Committee on Monday, the 12th. It was introduced by Representative Montenegro, and basically it's a relatively simple bill because what it does, it prohibits the conveyance of land to government entities. And we have talked about this before. This is a means to prevent foreign governments from owning, controlling land and using it for their benefit and not the benefit of the U.S. And so this may be a good bill, may be bad. I don't know. Archie, what do you think of that?
Well, as you said, owning, yes. Controlling, no. It does not prevent a foreign government from controlling Arizona land. It just does not. All it does is preclude them from going out and taking $1,000 out of their pocket and buying a square foot of land in the state of Arizona. What it does not do is keep me, from who owns that square foot of land, from leasing it to them or operating it under an agreement with them to do anything they want to do with that square foot of land. So, as we've so frequently said in the past, this is a good start, but it's only a start, and Mr. Montenegro needs to go back and finish, the work on this bill, because as I say, it's only a start.
And I'm going to agree with that, because that was my basic thought on it
Okay,
also.
so we agree then that it is a good bill, except that it doesn't go far enough because there are certain loopholes that can be exercised.
Too many
Right.
loopholes.
Too many
right,
loopholes,
yeah.
right.
Okay, good. House Bill HB 2748. Short title, Illegal Border Crossings, State Crime. This bill is going to be heard in the House Military Affairs and Public Safety Committee on Monday, the 12th. And what it does is that it provides local government with a liability immunity that arises from the enforcement of immigration laws. it extends that immunity to state employees as well. There is a mirror bill, meaning that there is exactly the same verbiage in a bill in the Senate. This bill is in the House. There is a mirror bill in the Senate. And this would be a good time to mention why that would happen. And that is that they think, the people supporting this bill think it's so important that it's a good idea to have it advance in both chambers. In case it runs into trouble in one chamber, it can continue to advance in the other. And whenever I mention that, people say, but doesn't it have to eventually come back to that chamber? And the answer is yes, but it's a little easier to put it through if it has already cleared another chamber, okay? So, and that's why they do this. It does enhance the ability of law enforcement to enforce immigration laws, but this immunity from liability, I don't know whether that actually helps a whole lot. What do you think, Archie?
Yeah, Archie.
I think this is an effort by our state legislature to indicate to the federal government that they are not doing their job as it comes to following the U.S. Constitution and in protecting the state from a foreign invasion, which is, in my humble opinion, what the illegal aliens are doing at our southern border, as well as our northern border, as well as our western border, and southern, I mean, all over. They're just coming in, and they're not coming in for asylum. They're coming in for economic gain, and the federal government is doing nothing to bring this invasion to a stop. And this is an effort by the state government, I think, to call attention to that to the federal government, and maybe to allow the federal government, the state government in Arizona, to do basically the same thing that Texas is doing. And from that standpoint, I think it's a good bill.
Okay.
And you agree, Gloria?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I go with that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I tend to agree as well. So, you folks, if you're considering contacting your legislators, we're recommending that you show your support for this bill when you contact them. House Bill HB 2884. Short title, Zero Emissions Vehicle Program Rebate. This bill is going to be heard in the House Commerce Committee on Tuesday the 13th. It was introduced by Representative Wilmeth, and it established a subsidy for the so-called zero emissions vehicles. I say so-called zero emissions because there is no such thing as zero emissions. You either emit something at the tailpipe or you emit it at the electric factory, electric
The
plant.
production part.
Unless you're talking windmill or solar, and we already know that there's no way that you can have all of these electric vehicles being charged and have enough capacity to do that with solar and wind. So, in my opinion, this is insane.
So we should all ride bikes, essentially is what this bill is.
Yeah, walk or ride a bike.
Yes,
which
walk,
it's a healthy thing to do, but I'm not so sure that I want to go that far.
Go across the country on a bike.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Archie?
This is
What?
In your opinion of
Well,
this?
there's one thing that you've left out. You've mentioned the electric vehicles. But there are a number of manufacturers now that are dealing with the hydrogen engine, and I suppose that maybe that could apply to those engines. But in my opinion, this bill is not designed or directed towards the hydrogen engine at all. It is. Look, we've already covered two bills today in which our legislature is trying to impinge upon your right to alienate
Right.
your own land and sell it to whoever you want to. Now they're going to try to tell you that you've got to buy an electric vehicle. I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple of years ago, we covered a bill by Udall in which she said that the state of Arizona was going to enter into an agreement with the federal government to build an entirely new highway system that could only be
That's-
traveled by electric vehicles. Well, this is approaching the same thing, so no.
Well, and that's the other thing, and it's all about the money, too, and if you.
Now, your money and my money,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, me neither. And also, it's to just entice people, and that they have all these little restrictions on that you can only you have to own the vehicle for 24 months or longer, and so on and so forth, and so, yeah.
Okay, so we agree then, all three of us agree that this
This
is a
is
horrible
a
bill.
horrible bill.
Yep.
So, folks, we recommend, and you don't have to follow our recommendation, but we recommend vehemently that when you contact your legislators, you tell them that this bill is no-go.
Right.
House Bill HCR 2050, Energy Source Restriction Prohibition. This bill is going to be heard in the House Natural Resources, Energy, and Water Committee on Tuesday, the 13th. And before we get started, let me just mention real quickly that this HCR bill is, like all such bills, it does not go to the governor for approval. If the legislature approves it, it goes to the people for a vote up or down. And now, I forget now whether this HCR bill is an amendment to the Constitution or a law, a statute. Do you remember, Archie?
Yeah, it's just a statute.
It's just a statute, okay. It can be either. It can be an amendment to the Arizona Constitution, or it could be a statute. So it was introduced by Representative Griffin, and it simply says that neither the state nor any of its subdivisions can impose any kind of restriction on the manufacture of use of any appliance or whatever based on what fuel they use or what they produce or any of that nature. Basically, it is designed to head off the California-style regulations, that prohibit certain types of vehicles on appliances, like they want to ban gas appliances and that sort of thing. So in that sense, I think it's a good bill. But Archie, what do you think?
Well, no, I think it's a great bill. Yeah, it prevents the Californication of Arizona.
Right.
So
Yeah, I call it a-
basically, California is saying, look, you can only buy electric vehicles, or in this case, the hydrogen cell vehicles. But now they're telling us what we can and what we
Right.
can't buy, what we can and cannot own, and this prevents that. And I think that.
How about you,
that's
Gloria? Do
Oh,
you?
I agree. I agree with this.
So we all agree that this is a good bill and it deserves our support.
I was waiting for Archie to change my mind, but.
No,
No, I'm good.
I think it's great. Yeah.
So it's a yes all around.
Yeah.
Senate Bill SB 1282. Short title, Highways, Bicycle Path, Walkways, Prohibition. This bill would be in the Senate Transportation, Technology, and Missing Children Committee on the 12th, which will be Monday. It was introduced by Representative Hoffman, and this is designed to head off some of the problems that we're having with cities that want to eliminate or significantly reduce vehicle travel. And they require that when you build a highway, that you have either a walk path or a bicycle path next to it, so that not only do you build a highway for vehicles, but you also build it for bicycles. And what this thing is saying is that you can't require that. And so to me, that's a good thing. But we have a panel here, and they have a tendency to disagree with me. So Archie, oh no?
No, we don't disagree with you, hardly ever.
What do you think, Archie?
Whatever you say goes. I'm not sure exactly what the federal government's interest would be. What purpose does it serve for the federal government to impose as a restriction on a grant to build highways or roads in the state of Arizona, that the state of Arizona also build a separate walking or a bike path? I can't think of any public interest that's served by the federal government doing that. That being said, I will say this. Now, I have been to other states, and I suspect you two have also, but I will point out to you very clearly, the state of Montana does this. And I can see a very, very good benefit from it. The current state is, if you're driving down
You can see a benefit of the federal government telling this?
No, of the state building a separate path.
Oh, okay.
If that's at all possible. You can't modify existing roads, but future roads you can. And I have seen them where, way off to the side of the highway in Montana, they have put in asphalt bike paths and walking paths. And what it does is it reduces the probability that a bicyclist or somebody walking along is going to be hit by a car.
Right.
And I think that's a very good thought. So I'm.
Well, but this bill does not address that or doesn't prohibit that. Because there's nothing here that would prohibit the state from building a pathway or a bicycle way, and they do that all the time, so that people can ride the bicycles and so on. What it does say is that
The government.
that they don't want to have the state yield to the federal government when they try to force the state to do something like this when it doesn't make any sense.
I understand
Right.
that.
So
I
that
understand
there's a distinction there.
Right.
I used to ride a bicycle quite a bit, and used to welcome bicycle paths because I had too many close calls with vehicles on the highway. And so I'm not opposed to bicycle paths. What I'm opposed to is doing it in a manner that is designed to shorten or make less or fewer lanes of traffic and benefit the bicycle as a means of promoting lesser use of vehicles. And
Which is what the federal government wants.
right, and
Correct.
that's what's happening here. And in that sense, this is a very, very good bill.
No,
And I agree with that.
I agree with that too. We
in
should not
agreement.
allow the federal government to impose restrictions on how we use money to build highways. But by the same token, all I said was building a separate hiking and a bicycle path is a good idea.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It's just
But,
not
yeah.
under these conditions.
Right.
Right, yeah.
So we're in agreement that this is a yes.
Yes.
Senate Bill SB 1288, short title, Electronic Ballot Adjudication Prohibition. This bill would be heard in the Senate Elections Committee on Monday, the 12th, and it was introduced by Senator Huffman. And it basically says that for any duplication and adjudication of ballots, the Board of Supervisors or any officer in charge of elections may not use an electronic vote adjudication system. And my question is, I don't quite understand exactly what this all means, but my question is whether this would actually make the process more tamper-proof, faster, more accurate, more efficient. What would be the purpose of prohibiting this electronic adjudication system? Do you have any idea about that, either one of you?
So in just looking at the bill, I'm not exactly sure what this machine is or whatever, but reading the bill, though I agree with not having a machine determine what a voter's intention is, if I'm reading this correctly, I agree with that. What I don't like about this is that if a ballot is not clear when the person submits their ballot, then it needs to just be pushed aside, because when you go to the ballot box, you should make your intentions clear. So there should not be a machine, and there should not be people determining what your intention is.
Yeah,
So
what it
that's-
is the way I read this is that the machine, what's happening now is we've moved away from back in the early days, so the machine is actually taking the place of remember the hanging shed?
Yes.
Okay? If somebody did not mark the ballot properly, then we had this situation back in, what is it,
2000.
2000, Bush and Gore. We had a situation where we had to guess as to what the intention of the voter was. My take on it is that if it's not clear, the ballot is no good, because you cannot sit over there and try to divine what the intention of the voter was if they don't mark the ballot properly, electronically or by people. It doesn't matter. But that's not a popular that's not a popular position. So
With that being said, there is a place for computers, there's a place for these machines and so on and so forth. But in the case of elections, I don't think that they are needed. I think we need to go back more to the old days. With your words, I'm going to say, I like the intention of this bill, but it doesn't go far enough.
With my words, I haven't said anything
Well,
yet.
no, from previous.
Oh.
well, see, she's doing what it's supposed to do with the ballots. She's divining what Archie was going to say. It was like the hanging shed that she would be holding the card up to the light and say, "Well, Archie's going to say this," and they say, "No, Archie's going to say something else." So,
Well, I am going to say something else.
Well,
just
see?
as a matter of fact.
you
When you go to vote, the electronic machines, when you put your ballot into that machine, it says, well, Gloria voted for this person for president, and this person for president and vice president, and it does the same thing with Jose. So it keeps a tally of the number of ballots that's come through that's voted for one proposition or one candidate. So that at any point in time, they can push a button out and say, so many votes so far for this candidate and so many votes for that candidate. That's what these machines do, right? Now, what this bill does, it says you can't use those machines. You have to hand count the ballots, right? Now, hand counting the ballots may not be a bad thing or a bad idea, but the question is, it makes no provision for hiring a staff to hand count the ballots or to pay for that staff. Now, how long is it going to take to do that? And you know, maybe the bill is a good idea. I don't know, but you know, until we know whether or not it's the hand counting of a ballot is more valid and more accurate than a machine counting of the ballot, then I don't know. I have a little bit of a problem with that.
yeah, last session we had a bill that would have required a test to determine once and for all these questions that you have. Is it more efficient? Is it more accurate? Is it cheaper? You know what? You know, let's find out exactly what it is that we want to do here.
And
But that didn't go anywhere.
Right, well, and also, and with what you've said, I think the purpose of Hoffman also introducing this bill, when, I'm not sure when it was introduced, but recently, I think it was in the Georgia case where they were talking about the machines counting the votes, and some guy went in and pressed something and it changed the votes. So I understand where he's coming, and that's why I say sometimes machines are good, but other times they're not used for the right purposes.
I can understand that. I can accept that, and I've already made my comments on it until such time as you know which is going to be more accurate then you shouldn't mandate hand counting of ballots. And if you are going to mandate hand counting of ballots, then you have to make a provision to cover the cost and to set forth some rules on how those ballots are going to be hand counted.
Right.
And if you don't do that, then all you're doing is creating confusion, and I think that's what this bill does. It just creates confusion.
So is this a yes or no on this bill?
Well,
This-
it's
or is this
kind
a
of-
question
It's kind of
mark?
a yes and it's kind of a no. I mean,
Okay.
go back and clarify it. As Jose said, a year or so ago, we had a bill that was going to require that we make a study to determine which was the most accurate. I mean, is it really accurate to hand count the ballots? You're sitting down here reading a piece of paper, and after about 5 or 6 hours, I mean, your eyes get a little bit confused. Are you really going to be able to say, oh, well, could you make a mistake? Absolutely. Can the machine make a mistake?
Absolutely.
All right. But which one has
What's
the
the lesser
highest
of two evils?
probability of making a mistake? And I submit to you that I think hand counting is going to have the highest probability of making a mistake. That's
Okay.
my final word on the matter.
So if I read this correctly, all three of us are kind of not sure whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
All right. So we can't tell you, folks.
So,
Use your own
okay,
judgment.
so I'm going to go with the more definitive. I say no, that this bill is a no because they have to,
Okay.
it needs too much work.
So we have one no and two undecided.
Yeah.
Senate Bill SCR 1043. Short title, Cities, Towns, Elections. This bill is going to be heard in the Senate Elections Committee. It was introduced by Senator Gowan, and it will be heard on Monday the 12th. It has two basic provisions in this bill. By the way, this is a concurrent resolution, and in this case, it is a ballot referral for a constitutional amendment. So anything that we're going to discuss from this point on has to be tempered by my opinion that we should not be amending the Constitution at the drop of a hat. We should not have a simple majority of a mob change a Constitution, whether that's good or bad. It's just not a good idea, okay? So, having said that, getting that out
And
of the
this
way.
is the Arizona Constitution.
Yes, the Arizona Constitution. We already know that the federal Constitution is very difficult to amend and so on and so forth. The two provisions are that if a city has different wards or areas, only that the representative, or in this case, the councilman for each of those areas has to be elected only by the residents of that area, ward or I don't know,
District.
district, whatever they call it. And that is a direct hit at some of these cities that have what is called an at-large election, where everybody gets to, all the voters get to vote on everyone, regardless of what ward or what district they represent. So what that means is that if the city overall has one leaning, then every time there's an election, that's the leaning that wins, and the people that are not in favor of that are never represented in the council. And that is a terrible thing to do. And as far as I know, I think Tucson does that. And there may be others as well. So this is aimed at that. So that's number one provision. The second provision is designed to head off or prohibit cities from using a ranked choice voting, which is also a terrible way to do an election. So on the basis of those two, I am 100% in favor of this bill. But there's three of us, so let's see what the rest of the people have to say.
Just in short, I have to say, what is a qualified voter?
Oh, that's somebody who's eligible to vote.
But with the way...
No, that is well defined.
Yeah, it's well
Well,
defined in the code,
but
yeah.
with the Department of, when they're just handing out, if you get a,
Yeah, right, no, I understand.
So
that.
this isn't, in my opinion, a qualified voter is not specified because we have too many that are coming across, and there's too many Department of Motor Vehicles that are just handing out.
Right,
If you, so.
right.
they're-
And
That
that's-
is not a qualified
Yeah,
voter.
and that is something that we need to address.
And
But
that's
this
why I
bill-
mean-
But
yeah.
this bill does not address that. This bill, once you're qualified, and then that's, every bill that talks about voters, instead of saying voters, there's qualified actually, they say qualified elector, not qualified voters. So that's the term that they use. It's a common term.
So I'm curious to know what Archie thinks.
I'm curious to know what I think too.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he thinks most of the time.
Well, I want to echo your statement on mending the Constitution. When you're going to start amending the Constitution, you need to give some long, serious, hard thought to that. And this bill is a proposal to amend the Constitution. And in my humble opinion, it does nothing. Understand that under today's law, in order to vote in an election, you only have to register 29 days before the election. And if you read the code, you do not have to have a permanent address. You can use any street corner or any bus stop as your residence, where you use a post office box. You don't have to live anywhere. You can be a homeless. You can be a vagrant. You can be somebody coming across the border illegally. Understand that under prior laws that we have passed, the Mexican consulate gets to determine where somebody coming across the border illegally lives, and there's not a thing you and I can do about it because that's what the law says. So, no, Mr. Gowan, whenever they decided to come up with this, didn't give an awful lot of thought to what the voter registration laws are and who can and who cannot become a certified valid elector. And so this bill is a whole big mess, and it's going to amend your Constitution, and you really don't want
wanna
this
do
in your
that.
Constitution. You just do not. No. So there, I've said my piece.
So I'm a no on this.
Okay, I take a different take on this, because the issues that you guys are raising are legitimate concerns, but they have nothing to do with this particular bill. It has to do with every bill. It has to do with every election. The fact that we have lax ways of determining who can vote and who cannot vote, that is a total different issue. We should concentrate on this particular bill. And this particular bill, other than the fact that it's a big deal, other than the fact that it amends the Constitution, which it should not do, this bill should have been a statute. But again, that does not detract from the merit of the concept. And the concept is that if you live in a city, you should be able to vote, and your vote be counted as part of your ward or your area, as opposed to at large, okay? Because otherwise you don't get proper representation. And that has to be changed. It doesn't make any sense to have it this way. It has to be changed. The question is, how do we change that? As long as we don't have anything else, this is as good as it could be. So the concept is good. And also the concept of not allowing ranked choice voting is also very important.
Oh, yeah.
And
Right.
yeah. So again, it's not the merit of the bill. The problem that I see with it is the vehicle that we're using to enact it. And so with that in mind, I don't know, but I wouldn't dismiss the bill just because of those problems.
I would.
I would.
Yeah, I mean,
So we have
the
two-
problems are insurmountable once
Yeah.
you put them in the Constitution.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you have 2 no's and 1 possibly yes. This brings to an end this week's edition of Arizona Bill Watch. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, please make sure you tell your friends, relatives, and anyone else you know. And make sure you tune in next week for another fantastic edition of Arizona Bill Watch.